Look at your hand for a moment. Lift it up, hold it there. It appears solid, unquestionable, real. It feels like a single, continuous object that belongs to you. You trust it without thinking. You trust the chair beneath you to hold your weight. You trust the floor not to give way and swallow you into the darkness below. That quiet trust is what keeps your mind stable. It is the thin line between calm and panic. But pause and ask yourself something unsettling. Why do you trust it? Is it because you truly understand what is happening beneath the surface? Or is it simply because the illusion has never failed you before? We move through life assuming reality is thick, dense, and heavy, painted with layers of solid matter. But what if that assumption is wrong? What if your senses are not revealing the truth, but hiding it from you? What if they exist only to keep you from screaming? If you could peel away the comforting disguise and see what you are actually made of, terror would freeze you in place. Remove the empty space inside the atoms of every human alive today, all 8 billion of us, and compress what remains. The entire species would fit inside a single sugar cube. Let that sink in. Every war, every city, every ocean, every body reduced to something smaller than a die. So ask the obvious question, what fills the rest? What is the vast 99.9999% that gives you volume? The answer is nothing. You are not a solid being. You are a phantom composed of force fields, temporarily pretending to be a person. And you are drifting through a universe built from the same cold emptiness. We are taught that space is just a backdrop, a neutral container where events unfold. But that belief collapses the moment you confront its brutality. Look up at the night sky. You see scattered lights and assume the universe is crowded, alive, full. That impression is a defense mechanism. Your brain is shielding you from the scale of the darkness. The light is the exception. The darkness is the rule. The true face of the universe is not the stars. It is the blackness between them. Picture yourself riding aboard Voyager, the fastest machine humanity has ever launched into the void. It tears through space at nearly 40,000 miles per hour. It has been traveling for half a century, and yet, on the scale of our galaxy, it has barely stepped off the porch. If the sun were a grain of sand on a vast beach, the nearest star would sit 4 miles away. And between those grains, there is nothing. No air, no warmth, no sound. Just an ancient silence so immense it would crush the human mind instantly if you were fully exposed to it. We like to think of ourselves as explorers of the cosmos. In truth, we are inmates. Each of us confined to tiny islands of light, isolated by distances so vast that they might as well be walls. Why is this prison so enormous? What is the emptiness trying to separate? Now look down again, at the ground beneath your feet. You feel its resistance. You feel pressure, texture, stability. It feels undeniable. And that is the most disturbing illusion of all. In 1911, a physicist named Ernest Rutherford fired subatomic particles at a thin sheet of gold. He expected them to collide with something solid, to bounce back. Instead, almost all of them passed straight through. It was as if he had fired artillery at a curtain and watched it disappear. That experiment shattered common sense. The atom was not a brick. It was a cage. Imagine a massive football stadium, capable of holding 100,000 people. Place a single marble at midfield. That marble is the nucleus, the only part of the atom that actually exists in a meaningful way. The electrons? They are like tiny insects buzzing in the highest seats of the stands. Everything else, the field, the seats, the air, is emptiness. You are not a solid thing. You are a probability cloud, a bundle of vibrations suspended in a vacuum that has convinced itself it is alive. Why does reality require so much nothing to construct a single atom? Why is existence 99% stage and 1% performer? Unless the emptiness itself is the point. This realization stops being abstract when you think about touch. Imagine holding the hand of the person you love most. You feel warmth. You feel connection. It feels intimate and real. But physics dismantles that feeling without mercy. The electrons in your hand and the electrons in theirs carry the same charge. They repel each other violently. Like identical magnets, they never actually meet. You have never touched anyone, not once. You have never kissed your partner. You have never truly held your child. You have never even made contact with the ground beneath you. You are floating on a microscopic cushion of electromagnetic resistance, permanently separated from everything else by a gap you can never cross. We reach for one another in the dark, but we never truly connect. The void is not only around us, it exists between us. It is the invisible wall that guarantees our isolation. So why is the universe constructed this way? Why is matter so rare, so fragmented? This is where curiosity turns into dread. For a long time, we believed the void was passive, simply the absence of things. But the deeper we look, the clearer it becomes that emptiness is not inert. It behaves, it acts, it wants. The universe is not empty by accident. It is empty on purpose. Matter is not the natural state of reality. It is the anomaly, a flaw, a temporary infection in an otherwise perfect vacuum. The universe prefers cold. It prefers silence. It prefers nothing. Stars, planets, and people are disruptions that the void is slowly erasing. The emptiness is not a stage. It is an immune system, and it is actively working to cleanse itself. We are not the owners of space. We are trespassers, and the system is beginning to respond. The voids are expanding. The boundaries are tightening. The silence is growing louder. We have already stared into the emptiness of the atom and found it deserted. Now we must look upward, because the terror below is mirrored perfectly above. Ancient alchemists once whispered a phrase in candlelit rooms: as above, so below. They believed the human body reflected the structure of the cosmos. They sought meaning, order, design. What they stumbled upon was far more disturbing. The emptiness inside your atoms is not an exception. It is the rule governing all existence. When you stand beneath a star-filled sky, it feels crowded, busy, alive. That sensation is a trick of perspective, a failure of the human brain designed to preserve sanity. You are only seeing the nearest, brightest lights, the local celebrities of a tiny galactic neighborhood. If you could step back far enough to see the universe as it truly is, the stars would nearly vanish. Evolution trained us to focus on light because light meant safety. Darkness meant danger. But in cosmology, darkness defines the structure. Light is just decoration, a thin cosmetic layer sprinkled across an indifferent abyss. Space is not a vacuum interrupted by matter. It is a vacuum reluctantly polluted by matter. The solid objects we cling to for meaning are statistical rounding errors. We are glitches in a universe optimized for nothingness. To understand the architecture of this prison, we must stop staring at stars and start mapping the darkness itself. Modern simulations run on supercomputers, like those at the Max Planck Institute, allow us to rewind the universe to its first moments and let it evolve over 13.8 billion years. When we do this, we do not see randomness. We see structure. What emerges is something called the cosmic web, a vast organic network stretching across the universe. Picture an infinite spiderweb suspended in darkness. Or better yet, a colossal neural network. The galaxies are not the web. They are tiny glowing debris trapped along its threads. Those threads are filaments of dark matter and gas, millions of light years long, linking massive clusters together. But here is the part that should make your skin crawl. Most of the universe is not the filaments. It is not the intersections. It is the vast emptiness between them. These regions are known as cosmic voids, enormous expanses with no stars, no galaxies, no light. Reality is shaped not by what exists, but by what is missing. The voids are the bubbles. Matter is the thin film squeezed between them. And those bubbles are growing, forcing matter into narrower and more fragile structures. For decades, astronomers believed these gaps were minor irregularities. They trusted the cosmological principle, the comforting idea that, on large scales, the universe is smooth and uniform. That belief collapsed in 1981, when astronomers mapping galaxy distances stumbled upon a region where there should have been light, and found nothing. After checking and rechecking their instruments, they realized the truth. They had discovered the Bautis void, a sphere of near-total emptiness spanning roughly 330 million light-years. To grasp that scale, imagine every galaxy reduced to the size of the Empire State Building. The Bautis void would be a volume larger than Earth, with not a single structure inside it. One of its discoverers later admitted that if the Milky Way sat at its center, humanity would not have known other galaxies existed until the mid-20th century. We would have believed we were alone in an infinite black box. That discovery shattered the illusion of a uniform universe. It revealed a cosmos riddled with holes, and those holes are immense. Space is not an ocean dotted with islands of matter. It is more like a grotesque foam. The voids are the bubbles. Matter is the fragile film stretched between them. We do not live safely inside the bubbles. We cling to the edges, balanced on the skin of nothingness. Matter is debris swept aside to make room for emptiness. Mathematically, this structure resembles a Voronoi tessellation, a pattern driven not by attraction, but by separation. The dominant force of the universe is not gravity pulling things together, but expansion tearing them apart. We are refugees huddled on shrinking rafts while the ocean of nothingness spreads in every direction. This understanding induces a unique kind of cosmic vertigo, a nausea that comes from realizing how statistically irrelevant you are. The void is not distant. It is the primary geography of existence. Matter accounts for less than 5% of the universe's energy budget. Choose a random point in the cosmos and teleport there, and you would almost certainly die instantly, frozen in darkness millions of light years from the nearest warmth. Life is an anomaly. Complexity is an anomaly. Warmth is an anomaly. We are not citizens of the universe. We are mold growing in the cracks of a sterile tomb, and those cracks are widening. The voids are expanding, merging, and driving everything apart. Emptiness is not losing. It is winning. To grasp the danger, we must stop viewing the universe as a static picture and start seeing it as a battlefield. A silent war is unfolding right now. On one side stands gravity, the builder, pulling matter together to create stars, galaxies, and brief pockets of warmth. On the other side stands the void, the destroyer, driven by a mysterious pressure that pushes everything apart. For eons, these forces existed in a fragile stalemate. Gravity gathered matter, patiently assembling stars and galaxies. The void responded by pulling everything apart, stretching the cosmos thin. Neither side truly won, until recently. Over the last few billion years, something fundamental shifted. The balance broke. Gravity began to lose ground. The emptiness surged forward. Expansion accelerated. The universe started tearing itself apart faster than it could stitch itself back together. The refuges of matter are shrinking. The filaments of the cosmic web, those delicate strands holding galaxies together, are being pulled tighter and thinner. Picture a piece of cloth yanked outward from every edge. No matter how strong the fibers are, they eventually snap. That snapping is already underway. Reality itself is fraying. We are participants in a war that cannot be won, a slow-motion defeat whose final outcome is perfect isolation. The void is no longer content to exist alongside matter. It is annexing territory. It is claiming dominance. For decades, astronomers tracked the motion of our own galaxy and noticed something deeply unsettling. The Milky Way is not drifting gently through space. It is hurtling at nearly 2 million kilometers per hour. We appear to be falling toward a massive gravitational structure known as the Shapley attractor. That part made sense. Gravity pulls. But when scientists refined their measurements in 2017, the numbers refused to cooperate. The attraction alone could not account for our velocity. We were moving too fast, so they turned their gaze around. And what they found was worse. Behind us lay a vast region of near-total emptiness, a void so profoundly lacking in matter that it behaved like a repulsive force. They named it the dipole repeller. The name sounds clinical, harmless even, but the implication is chilling. We are not merely falling toward mass ahead of us. We are being pushed away by nothingness behind us. The void is not inert. It is not a silent absence. It is an active agent. It shoves our galaxy forward like a hand on your back, like a bully driving you across a playground with nowhere to run. We are not just moving through space. We are fleeing it, running from a region so hostile to matter that it physically ejects us. This no longer feels like neutral physics. It feels like eviction. There is a wind blowing from the abyss, and we are caught in its force. If the dipole repeller is the wind at our backs, then the Eridanus supervoid is the missing floor beneath our feet. In 2004, Scientists studying the cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang, noticed something deeply wrong. This ancient radiation should be nearly uniform, varying only slightly across the sky. But instead, there was a blemish. A massive cold region in the southern sky, where the temperature plunged far below expectation. They called it the cold spot. It spans roughly 1 billion light years, a cavity carved into the residual heat of creation itself. According to standard cosmology, it should not exist. A structure that large and that empty is statistically absurd. The odds of it forming by random fluctuation are less than 1%. It hangs there like a bruise on the universe's face. When you stare at the cold spot, you are looking at a region where the equations begin to fail. A place where energy appears to have been siphoned away, leaving behind a frozen scar. And the most terrifying fact is this: we do not know what drained it. This anomaly has inspired one of the most disturbing ideas in modern physics. If our universe is a closed system, then nothing inside it could have created a wound that vast, which means the cause may lie outside. Physicist Laura Mersini-Houghton has proposed that the cold spot is not a fluke, but an impact mark. According to her hypothesis, our universe is one bubble in a colossal multiversal foam, and sometimes those bubbles collide. The cold spot may be the imprint left behind when another universe slammed into ours. Consider the violence of that idea. A separate reality, governed by its own physical laws, crashing into our spacetime with such force that it erased 1 billion light years of matter and energy. The collision left a permanent scar in the sky. If this is true, then the void is not an empty chamber. It is a membrane, a thin boundary. And on the other side are other universes, vast and indifferent, drifting through a higher dimensional sea. We are not sheltered inside our bubble. We are adrift in a chaotic ocean of realities. And we have already been struck once. There is no guarantee it will not happen again. There is no guarantee the next impact would leave anything behind. At this point, the map of nothingness is complete, and it is bleak. We began by believing space was empty. Then we learned it was structured. Then we discovered that structure is dominated by expanding voids. Now we see those voids pushing us, shaping our fate, and possibly colliding with realities beyond our own. This leads us into the second great terror of this journey: paranoia. The universe is not a calm stage upon which human stories quietly unfold. It is a dynamic, violent system fundamentally hostile to our existence. We are like insects skittering across the surface of a boiling pot. The water feels calm only because we are small and our lives are short, but the bubbles are forming, the currents are shifting, the voids are compressing us, the multiverse may be colliding with us. There is no equilibrium, only a slow, chaotic slide toward darkness. We are running through the night searching for shelter, but the terrain itself is betraying us. The map is changing beneath our feet, and every change brings us closer to silence. You may try to reassure yourself with visions of colliding galaxies. You have seen the simulations. The Milky Way and Andromeda spiraling together billions of years from now, stars swirling in a graceful cosmic dance. It looks comforting. It looks like gravity still rules. But that comfort is an illusion. It is the equivalent of two people embracing on the deck of a sinking ship while the rest of the fleet disappears into fog. Yes, our galaxy and Andromeda are gravitationally bound. We are locked together inside a small pocket called the local group. But everything beyond that is leaving. Every distant cluster, every remote galaxy, every possible civilization. They are all racing away from us. The gravitational threads that once linked us to the broader cosmos are snapping. The voids between clusters are stretching into uncrossable abysses. Eventually, the Milky Way and Andromeda will merge into a single, lonely island surrounded by endless blackness. The doors will close. The curtains will be drawn. The guests are already leaving, and none of them are coming back. How do we know? Because of the light. When an ambulance speeds away from you, the pitch of its siren drops. The sound waves stretch. Light behaves the same way. As galaxies flee, their light is stretched by the expansion of space itself. It reddens. This is redshift. And right now, the universe is drowning in red. But the process does not stop there. Eventually, that light stretches so much, it slips out of visibility. then out of infrared, then out of radio frequencies. Finally, it flattens into silence. The signal dies. This is not a theoretical future. It is happening now. Every second, stars cross the cosmic horizon and vanish from our causal universe forever. Imagine watching your friends walk into a dense fog. First, you see them clearly, then only silhouettes, then nothing at all. They still exist, but you will never reach them, never see them again, never know their fate. The universe is erasing the evidence of itself. Now step forward in time, 100 billion years. Expansion has continued unchecked. The voids have merged into a single super void. All other galaxies are gone beyond the horizon. Now imagine a civilization forming in this distant era. Their scientists build telescopes. They peer into the sky. What do they see? Nothing. Only their own galaxy. No cosmic background radiation. No web. No Big Bang. No sign that anything exists beyond their borders. They will conclude that they are alone in an infinite, static universe. They will be wrong, but they will never know it. We live in a privileged moment. We are among the last beings who will ever glimpse the true size of the cage. Future civilizations will be trapped in perfect isolation, so complete they will mistake it for normalcy. They will call the silence peace. We know better. This is not peace. It is quarantine. For a long time, we believed expansion was just leftover momentum from the Big Bang, a cosmic explosion whose fragments would eventually slow down, maybe even fall back together. But in 1998, the data destroyed that hope. The expansion is not decelerating, it is accelerating. The grenade did not just explode. The shrapnel has engines. Something is forcing the universe apart from the inside. We call it dark energy, but that name is a mask for ignorance. A more honest term is vacuum energy. Empty space itself carries energy. And here is the nightmare logic. As the universe expands, it creates more space. More space means more vacuum energy. More vacuum energy increases pressure. Increased pressure accelerates expansion. It is a runaway loop. The void feeds on itself. A self-replicating engine of isolation that will not stop until everything is torn apart. This brings us to the threshold of the third and most suffocating horror. We are not merely insignificant. We are not merely hiding in the cracks. We are being actively separated. The universe is spending energy to ensure we never meet. The void is not just distance. It is a growing wall. Even if we built a ship traveling at 99% the speed of light, it would not matter. The space between civilizations is being created faster than we could ever cross it. We are running on a treadmill that accelerates endlessly. We shout into a wind that forces our words back down our throats. The void guarantees that every civilization dies alone. It allows life to bloom, lets it gaze at the stars, and then pulls those stars away. This is cosmic gaslighting. A tease of connection followed by the absolute enforcement of separation. We are not simply alone. We are being kept alone. And now we must face the bars of the cage. You might still hope that technology can save us. Faster ships, smarter engines. But the speed of light is not a challenge to overcome. It is a prison wall. Light moves at 300,000 kilometers per second, astonishingly fast on human scales, and pitifully slow against an expanding void. Here is the equation that kills hope. Space itself is expanding. For distant enough regions, the amount of new space created each second exceeds the distance light can travel in that same second. Nothing moves faster than light through space, but space itself has no such restriction. The galaxies are not fleeing us. The road is stretching beneath them. This creates a boundary as lethal and absolute as a black hole, the cosmic event horizon. Inside it, information can still reach us. Beyond it, space flows away faster than signals can swim upstream. Anything crossing that boundary is gone forever. And the worst part, the horizon is shrinking. Each day, enormous slices of the cosmos drift beyond that boundary and are gone. Every moment, billions of future stars are removed from us, not because they die, but because they become unreachable. The universe is erasing itself from the outside in, like a slow deletion starting at the edges of a hard drive. For now, we remain inside a small sanctuary, a local patch of reality where light can still reach us. But the map is already curling at the corners. The observable universe is a spotlight narrowing inside a limitless dark auditorium. And we are standing under that beam, watching the shadows creep closer. Right now, the sky still looks busy. We still see structure. We still read the Big Bang like a signature written across space, hidden in the light of distant quasars and the faint background glow. But the future will not. Our descendants will inherit a blank sky. The relic light from the early universe will be stretched so thin it becomes undetectable. Nearby galaxies will have slipped beyond the horizon. They will look up and see only the stars of their own island. And by then, that island will be the warped remnant of the Milky Way fused with Andromeda. They will have no evidence that anything ever existed beyond their borders. They will conclude that they are the universe. Physics will rot into a misunderstanding. They will build theories from the data they can access, and those theories will say the cosmos is static, eternal, and empty. Expansion does not only remove matter, it removes memory, it deletes history, it buries the truth. We are living at the end of an era of knowledge. We are among the last witnesses to the real architecture of the cosmos. After this window closes, the silence becomes total. And you might object. You might reach for science fiction like a comfort blanket. What about warp drives? Wormholes? A loophole? Popular culture has promised you an escape hatch, a way to fold space and step over the void like a crack in the sidewalk. We can even write equations, like the Alcubierre metric, that hint at riding a bubble of spacetime. But the universe has a bouncer at the door. It's called causality. The speed of light is not just a speed limit. It is the rule that keeps time from collapsing into nonsense. If you move faster than light, you open the door to arriving before you depart, to breaking the chain of cause and effect, to paradox. You could, in principle, sabotage your own origin. And reality appears to hate paradox more than it hates emptiness. Most working physicists suspect that any faster-than-light trick requires either infinite energy, exotic negative energy that cannot be stabilized, or conditions that cannot exist in our universe. The lock is on the outside, and there's a brutal observational argument that hovers over every hopeful equation. If faster-than-light travel were truly possible, the sky would not be this quiet. Someone would have crossed the distance by now. The emptiness above you is the strongest evidence that the speed limit is not negotiable. We are not going to Star Trek our way out. We are confined to the geometry of our bubble. The void is not a puzzle. It is a sentence. And there is a fate worse than isolation. A future where expansion does not merely separate galaxies, but dismembers them. It hinges on a parameter physicists call W, the equation of state value for dark energy. If W reaches 1, the acceleration remains steady. But if W drops below 1, we enter the territory of phantom energy, a nightmare regime where dark energy grows stronger with time. In that scenario, expansion becomes an increasing predator. First, it drives galaxies apart. Then it becomes strong enough to defeat a galaxy's own gravity. The Milky Way is unstitched, its stars scattered like sparks into the dark. But it doesn't stop there. The force keeps strengthening. It overwhelms the gravitational binding of solar systems. Earth is ripped away from the sun. Then, worse, it begins to overpower electromagnetic forces. Planets disintegrate. Molecules can't hold. And finally, the strong nuclear force fails. Atoms themselves are shredded. This is the Big Rip, the final victory of emptiness. Not just loneliness, but annihilation by expansion. The universe doesn't end with fireworks. It ends with space-time itself tearing the seams open. Up to this point, we've spoken about the void as the emptiness between stars and galaxies, like a silent desert stretching forever. Now we have to zoom in, because the most perverse twist is this. If you look closely enough, the silence is not silence at all. Quantum mechanics tells us there is no such thing as true nothingness. Even if you built a perfect box and removed every atom, every photon, every trace of radiation, you would still not have nothing. You would have a vacuum seething with activity, a restless, violent froth hidden beneath the calm surface. Because of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, nature is not allowed to sit perfectly still. It cannot settle into zero energy. So, the vacuum cheats. It borrows energy briefly, conjuring particle-antiparticle pairs out of nowhere, letting them flicker into existence for an instant, then annihilate back into nothing as if they never happened. This is happening everywhere. In the air in front of your face, between your eyes, in the darkness between galaxies. The void is alive with phantom events. It bubbles. It churns. It fizzes with creation and destruction faster than intuition can follow. We are like ships on an ocean that looks calm from the deck, but beneath the surface, a storm is always raging. This is zero-point energy, and it means the vacuum isn't a defect. It's a tightrope. We are balanced above a reservoir of latent power without knowing how deep it goes. We assume the ocean will keep behaving. We assume the vacuum is stable. But what if it isn't? To understand that danger, you need an image your mind can hold. Picture a ball rolling down a hill into a valley. Once it reaches the bottom, it stops, stable. It won't move unless something kicks it. This is how we like to imagine our universe, that the vacuum of space is the bottom of the valley, the lowest possible energy state, the true vacuum. But in 2012, the discovery of the Higgs boson whispered a poisonous possibility. We might not be at the bottom. We might be perched on a ledge, a shallow depression partway down the slope, a false vacuum. Here's a better metaphor. Imagine walking on a frozen lake. The ice feels solid. You can stand on it. You can jump. You can build a cabin. You can build a civilization. But underneath, there is deep water. The ice is not the real ground. It's a temporary arrangement, stable in the short term, treacherous in the long term. The math of the Standard Model suggests our universe may be metastable, a polite word for a time bomb with no clock. It means our reality might be sitting in a state that is not permanent, a ball stuck on a shelf. And directly below, separated by a thin barrier of energy, is the true vacuum, waiting like gravity itself. All it takes is one push, one wrong fluctuation, one quantum accident. How would the end begin? Not with an invasion, not with an explosion, not with drama. It begins with a mistake so small you could never point at it. Somewhere in the universe, a billion light years away, or in the room next to you, a particle tunnels through the barrier. It slips off the ledge. It falls into the true vacuum. And in that instant, the laws of physics that hold your world together stop being valid. Reality reconfigures. A bubble forms, a sphere of a new vacuum expanding inside the old one. Inside that bubble, the constants of nature are different. Chemistry fails. Atoms cannot remain bound. The forces rearrange. It is not damage, it is deletion. The bubble is not just an event, it is a rewrite, and it expands because lower energy states spread. The difference in energy becomes a moving wall of absolute destruction. Imagine a drop of ink spreading in water, except the ink is fire and the water is gasoline. The bubble converts false vacuum into true vacuum as it grows. It consumes space-time itself, a cosmic wildfire where the fuel is existence. And once it starts, nothing stops it. No defense, no warning system, no technology, no prayer. It runs until there is nothing left to consume. The most terrifying aspect is not the destruction. It is the stealth. We are used to catastrophes that announce themselves. Hurricanes show up on radar. Asteroids appear in telescopes. Smoke rises before flames. Vacuum decay offers none of that. The wall expands at the speed of light. That sounds like a technical detail until you realize what it means for experience. You see anything only because light reaches your eyes first. If something approaches you, the image arrives before the object. But if the thing approaches at the speed of light, the object and its image arrive at the same instant. There is no incoming. There is no warning. The visual information about the end is delivered at the exact moment the end arrives. One moment you are alive, thinking about dinner, deadlines, love, resentment, tomorrow. The next moment, you are not even dead. You are absent. Your nervous system cannot fire a signal because the chemistry that makes signals possible has been rewritten before the signal can begin. A millisecond ago, there was biology, memory, history. A millisecond later, there is only exotic quantum rubble. Whatever that means inside the new rules. It could be rushing toward Earth right now from lunar distance. It would reach us in about a second. And we would sit here calmly, completely unaware, because awareness requires laws of physics that are about to stop existing. This brings us to the fourth horror, and maybe the most nihilistic one: fragility. We build our lives on continuity. We write books believing someone will read them. We carve monuments thinking time will preserve them. We behave like reality is a stage built to support us. But the false vacuum suggests the stage is rotten wood over deep water. We are not the main character of the universe. We are a temporary statistical fluke balanced on a blade. 13.8 billion years of survival does not prove safety. It proves luck. It is like a man playing Russian roulette 1,000 times and surviving, then declaring the gun must be empty. Probability is patient. The bullet doesn't get tired. The bullet has always been there. And the darkest realization is what collapse would mean for meaning itself. It wouldn't merely kill us. It would erase us. No ruins, no fossils, no radio signals, no trace. The new vacuum would contain no memory of this cosmos, no record that anything like us ever happened. It would be as if we were never here. We are trembling in the dark, hoping reality stays shaped the way it is for one more day. But the void owes us nothing. And I need you to let go of the Hollywood picture. The wall of fire, the rumbling earth, the sirens, the final hug. Physics does not care about your need for closure. The collapse moves at light speed, not merely fast, but at the speed of causality itself, the speed at which information exists. Your brain needs time to process an image, on the order of milliseconds. Your optic nerve needs time to carry a signal. Vacuum decay outruns perception. You will never see it, never hear it, never feel it. One moment you're holding a warm cup of coffee. You notice the heat, the smell, the texture. In the same instant, the laws that bind the ceramic together stop applying. The electromagnetic glue that holds atoms in place fails. Your hand dissolves. Not painfully, because pain requires nerves, and nerves require chemistry, and chemistry has already been overwritten. It is the perfect murder. No witness, no body, no crime scene. Not killing, unwriting. And here's the part that should make your throat tighten. Because that bubble expands at light speed, it may have ignited years ago in some distant system, and we'd still be staring at a normal sky. The conversion front could be racing toward us right now, and the stars would keep looking serene, because their final light and their destruction would arrive together. The sky could already be condemned, and the only reason you feel calm is because your eyes are too slow to keep up with reality. We may be gazing at a heavens that are already dead, and we're simply receiving the last postcard. You might dismiss this as a campfire tale, an elegant boogeyman physicists invented to entertain their own insomnia. You might argue that the universe must be stable because it has lasted 13.8 billion years. But we've tried to quantify the stability of the ground beneath existence, and the numbers are not comforting. The story leads straight back to the Higgs boson, discovered in 2012, nicknamed the God particle, by people who enjoy tempting fate. The measured mass of the Higgs, combined with the mass of the top quark, places our universe on a kind of stability chart, like a coordinate on a cosmic map that tells you whether your floor is bedrock or brittle glass. If the Higgs were a little lighter, we'd sit safely in a deep, stable valley. If it were heavier, the universe would have collapsed almost immediately after the Big Bang, never giving complexity a chance to form. But the Higgs mass is about 125 giga-electron volts, and when you plot that value, it lands in the worst neighborhood, the narrow, ominous strip of metastability. Picture a pencil balanced perfectly on its tip. It can stand there for a surprisingly long time. It looks stable. It feels stable, but it isn't. It's waiting for a breath. That is us. The fundamental field that gives mass to every atom in your body is balanced on a knife edge. The entire visible world is a high-wire act. So why would nature build a reality that seems primed to fail? Some physicists suspect the answer is brutal. Maybe instability is the price of richness. A perfectly stable universe might be sterile, frozen in an eternal, simple equilibrium where nothing complex ever happens. A universe that collapses too easily becomes a chaotic bonfire. We exist in the thin, tragic corridor between the ice and the fire. We are alive only because the pencil has not fallen yet. And every second that passes is another spin of the cylinder in a cosmic game of Russian roulette, played with a gun we can't see, aimed at a head we don't realize we're carrying. That leads to a thought that leaves a hollow ache in the stomach. If vacuum decay is truly possible, and if time is effectively unbounded, whether because the universe lasts forever, or because a multiverse contains endless variance, then statistically, it should have happened somewhere already. So why are we still here? Why are you inhaling right now? This is where the anthropic principle stops being a philosophical cushion and turns into a horror story. Imagine standing before a firing squad of 10,000 rifles. Every shooter aims at your heart. Every finger squeezes. Click, click, click. Every weapon jams. You survive. Do you congratulate yourself? Do you call it destiny? Or do you feel a chill and realize something is wrong with the setup? In multiverse scenarios, countless universes exist. In most of them, the vacuum collapses instantly. In others, it collapses after 1,000,000 years. In others, it collapses yesterday. Those universes are silent because there is no one left inside them to ask, why am I still here? We are asking the question only because we are the survivors of a massacre we never witnessed. We are wandering through a graveyard of failed realities, mistaking our survival for proof that we are special. But survival is not evidence of safety. It is evidence of luck. And luck, by definition, expires. This is the ultimate form of survivor bias. We look at the calm vacuum and interpret it as friendly. But we are like the one soldier who walked out of a machine gun crossfire untouched and concludes the battlefield is harmless, while the bodies are piled just beyond the range of his vision, in directions his senses cannot perceive. The emptiness is not peaceful. It is simply the silence left behind by everything that was erased before it could scream. But there is a trap even deeper than the physical death of the universe. There is the trap of your own mind. Return to entropy. The universe drifts from order toward disorder. It is easier to shatter a glass than to assemble one. It is easier to produce chaos than to build a human brain. And a human brain is among the most intricate arrangements of matter we know, requiring stable stars, carbon chemistry, and billions of years of evolutionary refinement. It is absurdly unlikely. And yet, quantum mechanics carries a cruel implication. Given infinite time, random fluctuations can produce anything. In an endless expanse, particles can accidentally assemble a rock, a clock, a cell, and yes, a fully formed brain, complete with vivid memories of a life it never lived. This is the Boltzmann brain paradox. The mathematics suggests it may be overwhelmingly more probable for a single brain to flicker into existence in the void, hallucinating a coherent world, than for an entire vast structured universe to exist in the first place. Let that poison your certainty for a moment. Which is more likely? That billions of galaxies, the rise and fall of empires, your childhood, your coffee, your loved ones, and every detail of history are real, requiring an immense synchronized origin and a long chain of physical consistency. Or that you are a momentary fluctuation in the dark, one lonely consciousness that sparked into existence for an instant in the cold vacuum, dreaming up a past that never happened and a future that will never arrive. You think you are a biological creature reading these words, but you could be the void briefly dreaming it is human. And when the fluctuation ends, maybe in a microsecond, the dream ends too, leaving nothing but silence. Now step back from the cliff edge of solipsism. Let's grant the universe reality. Let's assume the vacuum does not collapse today. What remains? What is the long-term fate of this enormous, empty chamber we call existence? We enter the fifth and final act, the era of degeneration. Stars are not eternal engines. They are fuel tanks, and the fuel is finite. In roughly 100 trillion years, the last star will burn its final usable hydrogen. It will dim. It will sputter. It will die. The lights go out. The cosmos becomes a cemetery of cooling remnants. White dwarfs fading into embers. Neutron stars like frozen cores. Brown dwarfs. Failed stars drifting in dark silence. But in that darkness, monsters remain. Black holes. During the bright era, black holes were predators lurking in the background, swallowing the careless. In the dark era, they become kings. They hoover up the leftover debris of dead galaxies. They merge. They grow heavier, quieter, more absolute. Imagine a universe with no light anywhere, only invisible gravity wells orbiting in total blackness. Occasionally, two collide and send ripples, gravitational waves, through spacetime. But there are no ears to hear the tremor, no minds to register the shudder. The void finally wins the argument against light. Matter is locked away inside these prisons, where space and time twist into something alien. To grasp the true horror of the black hole era, you must confront the timescale, because the human brain is not designed for it. We barely comprehend 1,000 years and call it history, 1,000,000 years and call it deep time. But the starlit era, the period of warmth, fusion, chemistry, and life, is almost nothing. A rounding error. If the entire lifespan of the universe were compressed into a single 24-hour day, the window in which stars shine and life can exist would be less than a trillionth of a second, an unnoticeable flicker. We are not the protagonists. We are not even the extras. We are the brief glitch at the start of the film before the real movie plays. And the real movie is darkness. The black hole era endures for durations so enormous, we need unfamiliar mathematics just to write them down. Numbers like 10 to the power of 40. A 1 followed by 40 zeros. 10,000 trillion. Trillion years of near total night. Imagine sitting in a pitch black room, waiting for anything to happen. You wait a year, then 1,000,000, then 1,000,000,000,000. Nothing changes. Only the slow gravitational choreography of dead remnants and black holes circling in the void. This is not an unusual future. This is the default state of the universe. We are the anomaly, living in the brief blaze of light before the eternal night settles in. The cosmos is not a place made for life. It is a place made for death that is currently holding its breath. And we are the brief fog on the mirror before it evaporates. But even the monsters are not immortal. We treat black holes as permanent winners, the final vaults of matter, the ultimate endpoints. But in 1974, Stephen Hawking revealed a mechanism that turns the vacuum into a slow poison: Hawking radiation. Remember those quantum fluctuations, the phantom pairs constantly appearing and annihilating in empty space. Near the event horizon of a black hole, one particle can fall in while its partner escapes. To keep the accounting consistent, the energy for the escaping particle is drawn from the black hole itself. The vacuum is literally stealing the monster's mass, one tiny withdrawal at a time. It is not defeated in battle, it is starved. It evaporates. This is the cosmic irony. Objects with gravity strong enough to trap light are powerless against the patient appetite of emptiness. The void doesn't need to be strong, it only needs time. And as we've established, it has more time than your mind can hold. It will wait for durations beyond imagination until the last fortress of gravity crumbles into radiation. And the end of a black hole is not gentle. As it shrinks, it gets hotter. It radiates faster. In the final instance, after eons of slow bleeding, it loses control and detonates in a final burst. A violent spray of high-energy particles into the dark, then silence again. Which leads to one of the most melancholic images in all of physics. Somewhere in the unimaginably distant future, the very last black hole will finally reach the end of its evaporation. It will be the final structure, the last keeper of mass, the last thing that separates something from nothing. And it will explode. A single flash of light in a darkness that has lasted for an eternity. No eyes to witness it, no mind to record it. The last punctuation mark in the universe's sentence. After that flash fades, the cosmos enters the true dark age. No more stars, no more mass, no more gravitational structure. Only ultra-redshifted photons, drifting at energies so low, they barely qualify as existence. The show is finished. The theater is vacant. The audience is gone, and the doors are locked from the outside. But what about everything else? The worlds flung out of galaxies, the cold rocks, the drifting dust. Surely they can last forever, tumbling through the night. Physics has bad news for them too. It's called proton decay. We grow up believing protons are permanent, bedrock particles, the sturdy bricks at the bottom of matter. But some grand unified theories suggest a darker truth. Protons may not be eternal. They may simply be unbelievably slow to die. On timescales around 10 more 34 years, even the protons inside atomic nuclei may eventually fail. They break apart into lighter fragments, particles like positrons and pions, before those too cascade into photons. If that's right, then matter is not a permanent substance. It is a temporary arrangement. The chair supporting you, the device in your hands, the calcium in your bones. Everything solid is living on borrowed time. Imagine an ice sculpture standing under a dry desert sun. At first it looks invincible, carved and firm, but the desert doesn't need violence. It only needs time. Grain by grain, molecule by molecule, the statue thins and vanishes into air. That is the destiny of every object. There will come an era when not a single atom remains anywhere. No rocks, no dust, no gas clouds, no planets drifting in the dark. Just a thin, expanding bath of radiation spreading through a universe that keeps getting larger and colder. The idea of an object will stop making sense. You could travel 1 trillion light years and never hit anything, because there would be nothing left to collide with. The void would finally get what it always seemed to want: purity, absolute emptiness, a wiped canvas. And that carries us into the last horror, the death of time itself. We talk about time as if it's a river, as if it's a fundamental ingredient of reality. But time is not a thing you can hold. It's a measure of change. We measure time by motion and repetition. Clocks ticking, planets rotating, atoms vibrating, events unfolding. One thing happens, then another thing happens, and we call that sequence time. But in the far dark era, nothing happens. The universe drifts toward maximum entropy, a state sometimes called the heat death. The temperature becomes effectively uniform. Energy differences disappear. There is no hot and cold anymore, because everything becomes the same dead chill. No gradients means no engines. No engines means no work. No work means no meaningful change. When the universe reaches that condition, the arrow of time loses its meaning. Past, present, and future become words without a reference point. If nothing changes, if atoms are gone and all remaining photons are indistinguishable, then 1 second cannot be told apart from 1 trillion years. Time doesn't break like a clock. It becomes irrelevant because there is nothing left to measure. The universe becomes a frozen, timeless mausoleum. Not merely dead, closed off from ever becoming anything again. That's why emptiness is frightening. It isn't only a spatial emptiness. It is a temporal emptiness, a state where existence itself becomes a forgotten dream. Silence is not waiting for us. Silence is where the road ends, and we are accelerating toward it. Now that we've reached the end of time, let's revisit an idea that becomes truly monstrous only when you have eternity to spend: probability. Earlier we described the vacuum as restless, quantum fluctuations flickering in and out like phantom sparks. In a heat-dead universe, there is no structure left, but probability still exists. Quantum mechanics whispers a cursed promise. Anything that is not forbidden can happen, given enough time. Wait long enough, and random fluctuations can assemble an atom. Wait longer, and they can assemble molecules. Wait long enough, longer than your mind can tolerate, and they can assemble something far worse: a functioning human brain, a Boltzmann brain, a fully conscious mind that spontaneously forms out of chaos. It awakens with memories: childhood, heartbreak, a first kiss, the feeling of reading these words. Yet none of it occurred. The memories are just a random arrangement of states, a pattern that flickered into existence for a fraction of a second before dissolving back into the void. And this creates the question that makes the blood run colder than space. What is more likely? That the universe truly evolved through billions of years, Big Bang, star formation, chemistry, life, just to produce you, or that you are a brief statistical hiccup inside endless darkness. The ugly math often says the hiccup is far more probable. You might be the only thing that exists, a solitary awareness in a dead universe, dreaming of a world that ended 1 trillion years ago. And when the fluctuation collapses, the dream ends too. But there is an even worse fate than death, and worse than hallucination: repetition. In 1890, Henri Poincaré proved a theorem that sounds less like mathematics and more like a curse. Any system with finite energy in finite space must, given enough time, return arbitrarily close to its initial state. The universe has a limited number of ways it can arrange its contents. The number is absurdly huge, but it is not infinite, which means that, eventually, after a span of time so vast it makes the black hole era look like a blink, the cosmos can reshuffle into the exact configuration it has right now. The Big Bang again, the stars again, your birth again, your regrets again, this sentence again, over and over, forever. The void would not merely destroy us, it would recycle us. A loop of existence and suffering enforced by probability itself. The silence wouldn't be an ending. It would be the pause between tracks on a broken record that never stops spinning. So return to the question we began with. Why is the universe so empty? Why so much nothing and so little something? By now the pattern is unavoidable. We examined structure, expansion, collapse, decay, and the answer becomes blunt. The universe is empty because emptiness is where it is going, and perhaps what it is built to produce. We like to imagine existence is the goal, that the universe exists to create stars and life. But the evidence points the other way. The cosmos behaves like a machine engineered to maximize entropy, to flatten gradients, to erase differences. Stars are built so they can burn out. Black holes form so they can evaporate. Life appears, and in its own frantic metabolism, it accelerates consumption, turning order into waste faster. We are not the point. We are the fuel. The emptiness is the factory floor. Expansion is the conveyor belt. Heat death is the finished product. The universe seems to be efficiently clearing clutter, returning towards zero. We are the sparks flying off the grinder, while reality sands itself smooth. There is a psychological experiment where a person is placed inside an anechoic chamber, a room designed to absorb nearly all sound. You'd think it would feel peaceful. It doesn't. People go in expecting calm and find dread. After minutes, the silence becomes heavy. They begin hearing their own heartbeat, then blood moving, then the thin whine of their nervous system. Deprived of external input, the mind turns on itself. Silence becomes oppressive because consciousness needs feedback. The universe is the ultimate anechoic chamber. We scream into it with radio telescopes, spacecraft, and philosophy. We beg for an echo, any sign that something out there responds. But the walls are too far away, and they're receding faster than any signal can chase them. The silence we hear is not merely the absence of noise. It is the sound of our isolation amplified across billions of light years of nothing. It is the universe saying, "You are the last noise I haven't quieted yet, and I am waiting for you to run out of breath." We peeled back the layers. We started with the space in your room, then the atom, then galaxies, then the end of time. And at every scale, we found the same signature: the void. It is beginning and ending. It is background and destiny. It is the womb and the grave. Which brings the final, brutal realization. The universe is not empty because something is missing. It is empty because we are the anomaly. We are the disturbance. Picture a perfectly still lake, calm for 1,000,000 years. Then a pebble drops in. Ripples spread. For a moment the surface becomes chaotic, animated. But the lake does not want ripples. It wants stillness. It disperses the energy, spreads it thinner and thinner until the surface becomes glass again. We are the ripple. The void is the lake. All our wars, our love, our science, our history. Temporary turbulence in a system that is correcting itself. We fight equilibrium, and equilibrium always wins. The universe is empty because emptiness is its natural state. And soon, sooner than your instincts want to accept, it will be natural again. And yet, there's a strange paradox at the bottom of this abyss. After an hour of horror, monsters in the dark, walls closing in, the slow deletion of meaning, fear starts to mutate into something colder, almost comforting. Because if the universe is huge and empty, and we are only a brief glitch, then our humiliations don't matter. Your embarrassment doesn't matter. Your failures don't matter. The wars we fight over lines on paper don't matter. We are shouting on a sinking ship, but the ocean does not care about our arguments. There is a bleak freedom in being a rounding error. We carry the weight of the world because we assume we are the center of the story. The void tells us to put the weight down. It tells us the story was never about us. We are only the audience for a show too large to understand. Emptiness strips away ego. It forces a single honest conclusion. The only thing truly real is the immediate fact of being alive right now. The future is fog. The past is ash. There is only this fragile flicker of awareness before the lights go out. And that makes this moment, this exact trembling slice of now, almost unbearably valuable. So yes, life is an anomaly. But it's a magnificent anomaly. For 13.8 billion years, the universe was functionally asleep. A blind engine of gravity, radiation, and expansion grinding away in darkness. It had no awareness of itself, no language, no color, no meaning. And then, absurdly, you opened your eyes. For a brief flicker, the cosmos became conscious. It grew a brain capable of looking back at the machinery that made it. It grew a voice capable of asking why. You aren't merely a person living inside the universe. In a very real sense, you are the universe undergoing experience. You are how the void becomes self-aware. Without you, stars aren't beautiful. They're just nuclear furnaces. Without you, emptiness isn't terrifying. It's only distance. We are the nerve endings of reality. We are sensation. We are the portion of the cosmos that can feel. Yes, we will die. Yes, heat death waits in the far distance like an unpaid bill that never stops accruing. But right now, we are the only thing in this enormous darkness that has an inner world. We are the flame that defines the shape of the shadow. And even if the flame goes out, the fact that it burned at all is a rebellion against the mathematics of nothingness. Humans obsess over legacy. We build pyramids. We write books. We carve names into stone and bark, begging the universe to acknowledge we were here. But the void makes a promise we don't like. There will be no permanent mark. No ruins left to discover. The atoms in our monuments will scatter. The radio waves of our songs will degrade into noise. Even the memory of our species will be wiped as clean as a chalkboard in the rain. That sounds depressing, until you realize it's the clearest truth we've touched. Reality does not preserve clutter forever. It trends towards zero, which means we cannot build our lives around a future audience that will never exist. We can't live for a legacy destined to be unmade. We have to live for the act of living itself. A song's value isn't that it can be archived forever. Its value is in the singing. A life's worth isn't what it leaves behind. It's how it feels while it's happening. The void teaches you that permanence is the grand illusion. What we actually have is the temporary, the fragile, the fleeting. We are writing our names in water, and that is not a tragedy. The water doesn't need to remember us. We only need to feel it against our skin while we're still here. So here is the answer to the question we asked at the beginning. The universe is empty for a reason, and that reason isn't to frighten you. It isn't a conspiracy to hide aliens. It isn't a simulation border. The universe is empty because emptiness is what endures. Complexity is expensive. Matter is expensive. Life is expensive. They demand energy, structure, order, constant resistance against the natural drift. The universe is empty because it is returning to baseline. It is resting. It is undoing its own tension. We are the fever dream of a sleeping giant, a brief turbulence in a sky that wants to be calm. The dread you feel under the night sky is the shock of realizing you are not the rule. You are the exception. You are frost filigree on a window pane that will melt when morning arrives. Morning is coming. Heat death is coming. The frost will vanish. But right now, the pattern is real. And it is intricate. And it is ours. Stand up, go to the window. Look into the dark. Don't turn on a light. Just look. Feel how big it is. Feel the weight of the quiet pressing against the glass. It is out there at this very moment. The expanding voids, the dying stars, the hungry black holes, the metastable vacuum. A machine built for annihilation, running without pause. It surrounds you on every side. It is beneath your feet. It is inside your atoms. You are immersed in it. And yet, you are not dead. You are here. You are awake. You are the glitch that refuses to be corrected. You are the interruption. You are the silence breaker. The void has spent billions of years trying to return everything to zero, and you are one of the rare things standing in the way. You are resistance. Every breath you take is a small rebellion against entropy. Every thought you form is a defiance of decay. Don't fear the emptiness, pity it. It has to wait an eternity to win. You only have to make your life matter for the length of your life. The universe is empty. Yes, but you are not, and that is enough. Now comes the hardest part of this journey. Not the physics, not the math, not black holes or vacuum collapse. The hardest part is what happens next. In a few minutes, this video ends. My voice stops, the screen goes dark, and you will be left alone with the quiet in your room. You'll have to stand up, walk out, return to the world of groceries and traffic and teeth brushing and family conversations. You'll go back to work, pay taxes, hear people complain about weather, and you will feel something sharp and strange. The vertigo of the mundane, a disconnect between what your senses present and what you now know. You'll look at your walls and you won't see safety. You'll see mostly empty space. You'll see vibrating force fields holding atoms together by probabilistic truce. You'll look at the sky and you won't see a friendly blue ceiling. You'll see an open hatch to vacuum. You'll watch people walking past, laughing at phones, sipping coffee, and you'll see biological machines built from star ash, walking on the crust of a cooling rock, orbiting a nuclear furnace, surrounded by an ocean of nothing. This is the burden of the watcher. Once you've glimpsed the machinery behind the curtain, you can't fully unsee it. The illusion of solidity cracks. You become like a diver who went too deep and surfaced too fast. Not with bends in the blood, but bends in the mind. The pressure of the void clings to your thoughts. Even back in warm air, you'll feel alienated, like everyone else is asleep, and you're the only one awake. You'll want to shake them. You'll want to grab a stranger on the bus and shout, "Do you have any idea where we are? Do you realize what we're standing on? Do you realize the silence is coming?" But you won't. You'll sit. You'll nod. You'll smile. You'll play along. Because that is what we do. We are the species that looks into the abyss and then goes and makes a sandwich. And maybe that's the most heroic thing about us. To carry cosmic horror in the back of the mind and still care about small things. To care about a deadline. To care about a silly game. To care about a smile. It's defiance. It's denial. It's also sanity. The vertigo fades. The mind grows calluses. The illusion rehardens. But a piece of you will remember. A piece of you will always stand at the edge of that great void, staring into the dark, knowing the emptiness is the only thing that doesn't blink. Now deepen the responsibility. If the universe really is empty, if distance and extinction have erased everyone else, then we arrive at a staggering conclusion. We might be it. Look at Earth again, not as property, not as a chessboard of nations. Look at it as a museum, the museum of last things, the only known place in the observable universe where matter learned to feel, the only place with music, the only place with pain, the only place with laughter, the only place with love. If we destroy ourselves, if we let the darkness inside us win, then the lights go out in the only gallery that exists. The universe goes back to being blind. It returns to being a dumb machine grinding rocks in the dark. That should frighten you more than black holes, more than vacuum decay, because black holes are inevitable. Vacuum decay may be inevitable, but survival, ours, is a choice. We are holding a candle in a hurricane and arguing about who gets to hold the matches, fighting over territory on a lifeboat while the ocean rises. The emptiness of the universe is not an excuse for nihilism. It is the strongest argument for humanism. If no one else is watching, we must watch out for each other. If no one else cares, our care becomes the only currency that matters. If there is no God to save us, we must become the hands we've been waiting for. We are the curators of meaning. We are the guardians of the flame. Every act of kindness is rebellion against the cold. Every act of creation is war against decay. Every time you impose order on chaos, you push back, however briefly, against heat death. You are not only living a life, you are carrying a duty to be the universe's awareness before the brain damage of entropy takes it away. We are the memory of the cosmos, and if we vanish, the cosmos develops amnesia. It forgets warmth, it forgets stars, it forgets that it ever woke up. So when you look at the stars tonight, don't feel small, feel heavy. Feel the weight of the crown you didn't ask for. You are the royalty of the void. You are the keeper of the only known light, and the kingdom is yours to protect or to waste. There's a transformation that happens when you stare into darkness long enough. Fear doesn't disappear. It alchemizes. It becomes awe. Yes, the universe is indifferent. Yes, it is hostile. Yes, it is a machine of erosion. But that hostility makes the existence of life more luminous. Think about the chain of events that had to go right for you to exist at all. The constants had to land in a narrow corridor. Carbon had to form inside dying stars. Those stars had to explode. Dust had to gather. A planet had to cool. Water had to remain liquid. Cells had to replicate. Catastrophes had to miss you. Predators had to fail. Your ancestors had to survive ice ages, famines, plagues, wars, bad luck, and worse choices. It is a streak that insults probability, a lottery ticket that kept winning for billions of years. And you are the outcome of that streak. You are the impossible object. The emptiness becomes a black velvet backdrop that makes consciousness glow brighter. If life were everywhere, if every star hosted cities, then you'd be ordinary. But because the universe appears so empty, you are rare. You are precious. You are improbable. The void's hostility is what gives your moments value. You are a flower blooming in a vacuum chamber. Your existence is a rude gesture aimed directly at entropy. So, don't fear the dark. The dark is what makes you shine. The fear is the vertigo of rarity, the dizziness of realizing you're carrying a Ming vase through a battlefield. Fragility is the point. Impermanence is the point. If you lived forever, you wouldn't be human. You'd be stone. But because you are temporary, every breath is a win. Every heartbeat is a small theft from the end of the world. Enjoy the heist. We are nearing the end of the spiral. We began by looking at your hand and finding emptiness. We ran to the edge of the cosmos and watched it flee. We looked forward and saw time die. And now we return. Back to your room, back to your body, back to this moment. The circle closes. But you aren't the same person who started. You've been initiated. You've seen behind the veil. You carry the secret of the void. And the secret is this: the universe isn't a place. It's a process, a flow. And you are not a separate thing inside it. You are part of the flow. You are a wave on an ocean. A wave is not separate from the sea. It is the sea behaving in a certain way for a certain time. When the wave breaks, it doesn't die. It returns to the ocean. The atoms in you were born in the early universe. They passed through stars. They became rock and leaf and blood and thought. One day they will become soil, air, light, and silence again. There is no true separation. The emptiness is not an enemy. It is your origin. It is where you came from. It is where you are going. The horror lives in ego, the part that demands permanence, separateness, fortress walls. But the fortress will crumble. And when it does, you will not be destroyed. You will be released. You will return to the silence that birthed you. You will become the silence. And in that silence, there is no fear, no pain, only peace. The peace of the inanimate, the peace of stone, the peace of a star, the peace of the void. So don't fear the ending. The ending is simply the beginning of the rest. Until then, you have work to do, to witness, to feel, to remember, to be eyes for a blind cosmos, a voice for a mute universe, to be resistance while you can. This is the end of the transmission. The signal fades. The data degrades. Noise rises. Expansion pulls words apart before they can fully land. But before the silence takes us, do one last thing. Turn off the screen. Sit in the dark for 1 minute. Just one. Don't reach for your phone. Don't move. Sit. Listen to the world's hum. Listen to your blood in your ears. Listen for the silence behind the noise. That silence is the truth. Everything else is a story we tell ourselves to make time feel manageable. It's a good story, heroes and villains, love and loss. But it's still a story. And the silence is the paper it's written on. The paper is crumbling. The ink fades. The book closes. Don't mourn too hard. Because for one impossible, radiant moment, the story was read. The story was heard. The story was lived. And that has to be enough. Because it's what we have. The universe is empty for a reason. It is empty so you can fill your corner of it. So fill it. Fill it with life. Fill it with creation. Fill it with courage. Fill it with love. Make noise into the void. And don't stop making noise until the lights go out.